Hello and welcome to Mothering Unedited. I am Sarah Grace Knutson.
And I am Leanne Hulick-Reyes.
And I am Carmen West. And we are bringing you real and raw conversations that honor the mess and the magic of motherhood.
From our radically authentic hearts, we share and discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly about the things that mothers need to talk about most.
To be heard, to be supported, and to be uplifted through authentic, vulnerable connection, so we may all rise together in our motherhood journey. Welcome to episode 2 of Mothering Unedited. Today we are planning to talk about new beginnings with the new school year and cycles, the way that the cycles change as we are closing off the summer, celebrating the harvest, reaping in the benefits of our gardens, those of us who have them, and also starting new things and new cycles. So we're just going to jump in and play with all of those topics. We may have a few notes, but really not a lot. We're just going to have a conversation. Who would like to start?
Leanne, you were saying you had a beautiful story that you wanted to share.
Well, yes. I guess on Thursday I decided I had all these vegetables. I had gone home to Manitoba to visit my parents, and I came back with beets and potatoes and carrots and corn. And I'm like, what am I going to do with all this stuff? So I decided Thursday night that I should have some people over for dinner. And so for the first time, I made borscht because I had everything to make it. And I'm Ukrainian, so I should know how to make borscht. My mom sent the recipe, and it was like a canner. Like a canner is something you make like for all of winter and maybe the next one too. And I'm like, I cannot do that. So I looked at a recipe, and it was only 3 beets you use in the recipe. So I winged it, and I made a borscht version. But the more important thing is, well, okay, just one second. I had corn, and then I had squash, and we had beautiful people over. And my intention was to thank people who helped me in the last year, because I had a transitional year. We moved from Rocky Mountain House, and Stella started a new school year, and I couldn't even get into my home. So this beautiful lady let me stay in her basement, and I had beautiful people helping me along the way. And I wanted to acknowledge them. I wanted to acknowledge all that I had accomplished. And there was, some tears, not with the people, but, looking at all this year, and then also setting an intention of the new year. So it was kind of like an ending and a new beginning. So it was because it was such a different year. So this was really special, and I acknowledge these people, and I'm so grateful to myself for again and again thanking people, because it makes them feel good, and it makes me feel good because I'm so grateful. So that we had a beautiful party, and then some friends of Stella's and Mama stayed overnight. So we went all out, man.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. And your borscht sounds delicious.
It does.
Yeah, I love how you pointed out that this year was really different, because I bet that's true for everyone. I don't know if anything is just like ho hum humdrum, same as it's always been for like anybody these days. Transitional year is probably the name of the game for most people. I feel like things are transforming in people's personal lives as faster than they ever have before, and in people's family lives and professional lives, and everybody's got lots going on. So I love that you shared that about your own self, because I feel like it's something we can all relate to. And just the gratitude for the people who were there along the way is really beautiful. And of course, at least here in Canada, we have Thanksgiving coming up in just a month. So definitely now is a good time to start leaning into that. I mean, it's always a good time for gratitude, but starting to think about it now, just we don't need to only think about it on the one day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. This September for me has been, I don't know if it's been transitional necessarily. I guess it has been. So my youngest started kindergarten this year, and that's a big step. A lot of people say, "Oh, you'll have so much time on your hands." That's not really how it works. It's still a pretty short day. Um, when they're in kindergarten in the public school system, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's lovely to have both my kids going to the same school. They really thrive together. They like to help each other, you know, most of the time.
Yeah,
Definitely.
siblings are siblings.
Yeah, siblings are siblings for sure. Um, so I've actually, like, I really, really enjoyed our summer. It felt really busy, um, and really restorative, and also like we did things that we love to do. And I think it felt busy just because we were away a lot this summer. And so I'm finding it really lovely to get back into that routine and that schedule, and actually spending a bit of my time in the past couple of weeks learning a new schedule and actually learning a new way of scheduling. In the past, I've been really strict with my scheduling. I have like every half hour kind of jotted down how I'm going to spend it and what I'm going to be doing. And I did that all of last year, and sometimes it didn't really work for me. It was a bit too much when things didn't go like I wanted them to go. So this year I'm trying to be a bit more flexible and going with the flow a bit more, and instead kind of breaking up my week into how many hours do I want to spend doing this? How many hours do I want to spend doing that? And then blocking it into a bit of time. And then a suggestion from Suze, who we talked about last episode.
We're going to talk about Suze a lot. It's
We
just,
are going to talk about Suze a lot.
she's our connecting point.
Yes,
Yeah.
was that when she uses a calendar, she uses a digital calendar, and she'll actually put tasks right in the notes. And then if that task doesn't work for that day, then she'll just move it. And so I'm going to play around with that this fall, this new season, and and really move towards flowing more instead of being so rigid with myself, and giving myself that grace, because we're moms. Like, things happen, life happens, we have houses, we have families, we have animals. there's there's a lot that we have lives.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So when you speak about flow, um, I often have struggled in the mornings getting ready for school. So like, and saying I'm going to be more patient hasn't always worked. And so sometimes I make it through the whole morning, and sometimes I don't. And so the morning routine of getting ready. So on this drive home from Manitoba road trip, it's like I'm making a pledge to just let it be easy. And if I'm going to be like, thank I'm so grateful that I don't if I can I might if I get to work at 8:30, it's good. If I get it there at 8:45 or at 9, it's still okay, as long as I'm putting in my certain number of hours. So I'm just going to let it be easy. Like, and this week has gone really good, and I'm so
Nice.
happy for me and also my girl, because like we're both trying to make this thing happen. I just have to look at it from a different perspective. So I want to be in flow, just like Carmen said, with these mornings, and plan ahead, but also just let it flow.
That sounds amazing. It's interesting listening to you two talk about schedules, because I have been having my own journey with schedules, but it's from a completely different angle as a homeschooler. I just don't schedule almost anything in the morning. And actually, that's when I schedule my clients. If I'm going to be having a personal client, then usually it's at 9 or 10 in the morning, because that's when it's easiest for my kids to like go do something and not need me for an hour. And it doesn't mean they don't still come ask for snacks, but you know, so if you're going to have a session with me, you're going to hear one of my kids asking for sausage at some point. But what I've been finding in my own journey is that I used to really struggle to schedule anything. And as we've been moving into, again, my littlest, just like yours, Carmen, is in kindergarten, and my older one, I mean, homeschool kindergarten, but it's new for her. And last year she wasn't really doing the homeschool thing with us, although she was still tagging along, obviously, with all of the activities and projects and anything that we were doing. But this year, I feel like for the last month, all the way through August and well into this first little bit of September, um, everything about my focus has been on, okay, when are we doing swimming lessons, and when are we going to be doing something that's like a physical activity for him, and which park days are we going to commit to go to, and make sure that we're building friends with the people in different, because there's homeschool communities all over the place. And so and when are we going to go to the science center, and because there's special homeschool days. So I'm actually looking well into like April, May, June, and scheduling things to make sure that we still have things going on, except for January, February, because we're going to have a new baby. And so I just like cleared the schedule for all of that point. But I'm actually feeling really good about it. And I didn't know that I had it in me. There must have been some kind of growth or some kind of development or some kind of thing that's shifted in me, because I'm pretty sure a year ago, I would have been totally overwhelmed by the amount of scheduling that I'm suddenly doing to sort of manage our homeschool life and manage. And it's not that we're busy all the time. We're really unschooly, and we really like just kind of life is school for the most part. But I mean, there's still all kinds of activities that we do want to be participating in and going to fun events and stuff. So, it's so amazing how many different ways life happens, and we can all be having like scheduling journeys with this new chapter. And then there's like scheduling, when are we going to record, and scheduling, when am I going to write the chapter for the collaborative book that's coming up, and all of these things. Um, and so even though it's like all these different stories and all of these different journeys, we're still all just like, oh, scheduling. Wow, that's such a big part of all three of our lives right now. It's interesting. And I'm sure we're not
It
the
is.
only ones.
Probably not. Yeah. Another thing that I've been doing to help with kind of going with the flow, and I guess shifting my perspective of overwhelm, shifting from that to something easier, is that I've actually been doing a 30-day declutter challenge, which has been really interesting. In the past, again, this would be something that has felt really overwhelming to me. And I follow this lady called Clutterbug. I think she's Canadian. I'm pretty sure she is. And she, for September, put out this 30-day challenge where it's just 5 minutes a day. You actually set a timer. You can do it along with her. She sets the timer, and you could just have it on YouTube while you're doing your little decluttering. And she has this cute little sheet that I've been following. And it is amazing to me how fulfilling those 5 minutes are, and how big of a difference it has made. My husband has come home from work and said, wow, like, look at the kitchen counter. You did an amazing thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, I spent 5 minutes on it. But I didn't tell him that. I didn't tell him I only spent 5 minutes. And I'm just loving it so much. It actually might be something that I just repeat, because I feel like simplifying in that way helps my life grow and flow in other ways so much.
Grow and flow. Beautiful. You know what? I think those exact words, just exactly the way you just said them, Carmen, is the words that came up for me the last time I had a session with Suze. And so we've mentioned Suze twice in this episode, so we're just gonna, all three of us are belief repatterning practitioners. Suze is the developer of belief repatterning. And the link to learn anything about belief repatterning will be in the show notes, and also the link to see how we use belief repatterning in our own personal practices. But now that I'm done that piece, as a practitioner, I still need help. And I was having a check-in with Suze fairly recently, and grow and flow, exactly the way you just said it, Carmen, is those are the words that I was moving towards in my repatterning session. So so I love it. I love it. The alignment is strong today.
Well, and I love how you just mentioned that in the last episode too, how our words show up from other people sometimes.
Yeah, and it's just that reinforcement. And yeah, because I said balance and your word that day was balance. And yeah.
Even
Lovely.
like even decluttering for 5 minutes, it's like a cycle. So like we live and parent in cycles. So that is something that I thought is worth connecting for us and all other people.
Well, yeah, I'd love to dig in for a second to the concept of cycles, because there's basically nothing in life that isn't a cycle. Even this is something that I also learned from, or started thinking about as a result of a different personal development program that I took quite a while back called Living from Truth. And there was an entire weekend immersion on cycles, nothing but cycles, and all of the different ways that cycles show up in our lives, and all of the different ways that we can improve our lives by improving our cycles. And to this day, every time I look around and all I see is chaos, I'm like, it's just unfinished cycles. All it is unfinished cycles. And even this, I'm going to pick up my drink. I'm going to take a sip. I'm going to put it back down. That was a cycle. The sip was a cycle. When we go around having a million unfinished cycles, things get a little crazy. So so celebrating the completion of cycles is a really amazing thing to do, because what happens when we celebrate? We reinforce and do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the endings and beginnings. And so I read this book by Clarissa Pinkola Essays, The Women Who Run with Wolves. This book has altered my life forever. And what she wrote about was a life, death, life cycle. And so it's about the endings and beginnings. And I realized that I was always trying to keep everything alive and hold on to everything. And it's not natural. So I didn't know that. So you gotta let things end or let things die, because it's not supposed to continue. We're supposed to have a time of wintering and going inside and being internal and reflective, and then and planting new seeds and restorative, and then going out and planting the seeds and watering them and growth and harvest, and then rest. So like I didn't know, I wasn't connected to seasons and cycles, even though I'm witnessing it all around me. And
Yeah.
cat, right? That we said
Yeah,
there would be
we promised there would be cat sightings.
So I wasn't honoring it. And so I didn't put it together that my life is reflective of nature, and I didn't let things end. And so that was a big learning for me in the last 3 years.
That's amazing. You basically just led into the actual topic of the chapter for the collaborative book that I'm writing. So I'll just speak about that for a moment as well. I am taking part in a collaborative book called Be Light to Raise Light. And overall, the book is about us awakened and conscious mamas showing up as our brightest, shiniest selves so that we can model it for our children and so they can be light leaders in the world moving forward, essentially, to put it in one sentence. And my particular chapter is on how we grieve and the importance of leaning into the magic of loss. And what you just spoke about with the cycles of life being like a death, life cycle, is really actually an important piece. So I'm glad you brought it up because I'm about to start writing. And it's just another perspective on how we really need to lean into the full experience of every single part of, in my case, it was the loss of an unborn baby. It was a miscarriage, and how my realization through going through the experience that was that as long as I wasn't connecting with the pain and the and connecting with the people in my life around the loss, then I wasn't getting to experience any of the magic that came along with it. And as soon as I like really leaned in and I just connected fully with the experience that I was having instead of resisting any part of it and going, no, 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 I don't want this and all of this. But I just was like, okay, this actually is just what is. And then all of a sudden, all of these magical connections and serendipities and tingles and sparkles started showing up. And I was like, wait a minute, it's all part of this big magical experience. And if I resist any part of it, then I'm pushing the rest of it away. Okay, there's the tingles.
I love that.
And,
Yeah.
I'm happy I recorded that because I'll probably go back and write those exact words, some of them anyway. So yeah, new beginnings, harvest,
and
cycles.
Yeah.
And just like, and that's what I said a little bit earlier, was that if we don't witness, if we don't feel this pain and grief and all the down emotions, we if we're not willing, or if we don't know how to be aware of them, we can't feel and witness the magic. So
Exactly.
it kind of have to go, and they're interweaving, and they're both important. So I was trying to shut it all down, like push it down, out and away, and it's not what we're supposed to do, and I didn't know that. Yeah,
We're all learning.
we're all learning. And I wanted to say something about, like, our children are also in different cycles. So like, we have these often expectations of them, and or that they might be going, we might want to see something at a certain time, and we might not see that because they might be in a different part of the season or the cycle. So I wanted to put that out there and see what you ladies have to say about that. And
I think that's really important to remember. And I think it is especially important when I find when I speak to my children, I often speak to them as they're much older than they are. Because that's how I view them. They're little humans. They're people. I talk to them. I'm talking to them like people. And a lot of times I have to remind myself that, well, he's 5.
Mm-hmm.
He's 5, and I would give grace to someone my age on this topic. Why can't I give grace to my kids? I can. And so just learning that you're absolutely right, Leanne, on the cycles. That's a great reminder as well. They're in different cycles. They see things differently. They see the world differently.
And I actually have, because we did chat briefly last week about what we wanted to talk about today. And one of the things I wrote down, which Leanne, I believe were your words, was celebrating what is, not what we expected. And I love how succinct that statement is, in describing what we were just talking about. It's just let's celebrate ourselves and our babies just the way we all are, and not get caught up in how we thought things were going to be. And that doesn't mean that we can't be improving and growing and deciding, you know, this piece of my life, I'd like it to be different, or any of those things. But I can celebrate something and lean into its growth at the same time.
Yeah.
Not only can I, it's so important
It's so important. Thank
to
you.
celebrate those things.
For shifting, up leveling what I said. Yes, totally. It's so important to celebrate what is and be able to lean into its growth at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. So,
there's I have a little bit of emotion, but yeah, there's like my plan and then there's the divine plan. So unfortunately, it's usually going to go the divine way, and that's for me to learn. So yeah.
well, yeah, when I'm in true alignment, I might actually not like what shows up. At least the ego part of me won't necessarily like what shows up. It's more of the ego who's like, okay, well, that's not what I thought was going to happen. This isn't right. But when I'm really in alignment with like my soul and my heart, and as you said, the divine plan, then letting go of the ego's expectations is crucial. Absolutely crucial.
And that's where the magic is, right?
That is where the magic is. One of the biggest learnings that I've had in the last year is to always follow the tingles, even if I can't make any sense of them. And that's what brought me to collaborating in the book. And even though I was like, how am I going to do this? I have all these other things on my plate. I'm having a baby. And here I am collaborating in a book. And I know that it's going to be the absolute right move, because every time I think about it, I still have the tingles. So I keep following the tingles and not the like what ifs. Yeah. Yeah. So let's each celebrate an accomplishment and invite our listeners to think about something that, or not celebrate an accomplishment necessarily, but just celebrate something that is, whether that's an accomplishment or not. I would like one of you to go first, because I was talking and not thinking yet.
Sure, I can celebrate. I will celebrate that that I'm moving forward with decluttering my home right now in small bite-sized pieces. And although I find it easier to do when I'm, say, in the house by myself, that's not always the way it goes. And just in conversation today with you lovely ladies, I realized that that's actually important for my kids to see, is modeling decluttering, showing the importance of, okay, I no longer need this, or this is broken, or this is just garbage, or why are we don't need to keep all of the things. It's an important lesson. So I'm celebrating that that I actually have done that with my children around, and moving forward into the next times of decluttering, I will see it that way instead of instead of the way I was previously seeing it. Why can't you just leave me alone?
It's a really good rewrite. Yeah, why can't you just leave me alone? I need to declutter. No, hey guys, I'm decluttering. Yeah.
Can you go find 5 things?
Yeah. Nice. Yes. Let's do this together. Leanne?
Well, I'm celebrating being here right now. And
Yeah.
the girl who 2 years ago couldn't have even dreamed that I could do a podcast. And I'm also really grateful to have reached out to you guys, and that I'm doing it in collaboration, because we're not really meant to do this alone. And what I really liked when we were doing other conversations is that if something went sideways for somebody, then there was others here to continue on do this. So I'm celebrating collaboration and being real and authentic and willing to, share and connect with people.
I
Awesome.
love that.
Yay. Okay, it's my turn now. I called it. I'm celebrating actually a massive amount of growth in the way that I'm navigating hardships with my children. With respect to like emotional outbursts and all of the things that comes along with having littles and even biggers. That I've had a tremendous amount of growth in my ability to sit and hold the peace and be the calm and grounding force. And I mean, there's still a voice in there that's going, by no means am I perfect. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just like a guru sitting there in meditation while my children are having a meltdown. But actually, I would like that piece of my brain to silence itself for a moment. I hear you. And right now I'm celebrating how much, pardon me, I'm celebrating how much growth there actually has been in my ability to be the calm grounding force and stay that way for the duration and like implement my strategies that I've been learning with different specific needs of specific kids and even to be able to do it with both of them at the same time, because that's often been a challenge. Is like, okay, well, I'm doing the thing that works for Caius, but it's definitely not working for the other one. And so I've like grown this much hugeness in my ability, and I'm celebrating that. So now would be a beautiful moment because I'm sure all our listeners have just been listening all of this time. I will offer the invite for everybody listening to give yourself some moments to think about something that is in your life, whether it's an accomplishment or just something that you're like, yeah, that feels good right now, and celebrate it.
And it doesn't have to be something big.
Oh,
Okay. So today I painted with my girl, and
mm.
I was on that road trip and I was listening to this book. I can't remember. It was Tara Brach or something. And it said, what if you only had 1 week to live? And what if like, what would you be doing? And it was saying you shouldn't be running around to different places and try to accomplish things. And I'm like, Leanne, you've had that acrylic paint for like weeks and months. So sit down and paint. So we did it last weekend. And then this afternoon, we did it a little bit today. So I'm like, that is beautiful. Like, because I've been wanting to paint, and there's on Facebook, there's one person, she gives you step by steps, right? And so you follow it. And so that is another big success for me, and it's just fun. And then I said, hey, do you want to come paint with me? And she did. Okay. So she just did a little bit and then she left. And I'm like, yeah, because like we haven't done that in the past.
Nice. Yeah. New things. One of the really cool things that I've heard, I don't even remember. I listen to a lot of different podcasts and YouTube channels, and a lot of it is like spiritual just sort of updates and energy things. And one of the things that stood out to me most recently, and I'm sorry I can't remember who it came from because there's just so many, was it's trying new things. The energy of right now is about trying new things, not because it even matters what the new thing is, but because the energy of trying the new things is shifting us out of the old faster. So, yeah. Oh, there's the tingles again. Yay.
And I love that we're trying a new thing right now.
We really are.
Podcast.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm really so grateful
and
both of you.
Thank you. And I think that like we take the lessons, and what I'm learning is not to keep carrying the heavy baggage with me all along. And I'm putting the baggage down and taking the lessons. And so I am on a mission to live an inspired and meaningful life. And that's what I want from my daughter. So when you say that beautiful phrase you just said, is like the energy of new, right? Set and an intention for the day or just the moment. And then that energy, it comes along with you. And so that's
Well, that's why we pick a word.
yeah, and that's creating different energy in our home and for our children.
Yes. Beautiful.
So yeah.
I feel like that's a really good place to wrap it up today. Unless there's anything that anybody else wanted to share or add that just is itching to be added. But I feel a sense of completion on this cycle. Are you in agreement?
I
Yeah.
am.
Awesome.
I would
Okay.
like I would like to add that maybe like if for yourself and maybe with your children, to our listeners, that maybe you want to look at accomplishments that you've had, and that big or small, having a good morning, getting, going to school. We have Friday night parties, to celebrate we got through the week. So little accomplishments in this harvest season for you and your children, because then they can see visible evidence of their accomplishments and their growth. So
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I would, the call to action is to take a look at your accomplishments in this harvest season.
Awesome. And acknowledging that as the cycle is ending, it's also an opportunity for new beginnings and doing new things and moving into the energy of newness as we honor everything that has been up until this point.
Yes.
Nice.
We have a practice where at supper time, we go around the table and everyone says what their favorite part of the day is.
Mm-hmm.
It would be wonderful to add accomplishments to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, accomplishments. We do gratitudes sometimes when I remember, which is not all the time.
that's how
And
life goes.
yeah. And
Well,
adding accomplishments would be amazing. Great.
thank you,
Okay.
ladies.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Until next time, go out and be wonderful. And I don't even know what our next topic is going to be because we haven't discussed it yet. So it's going to be a surprise.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Mothering Unedited. We are so grateful to have you here with us and are excited to connect with you in whatever way works for you, whether that's through one-on-one coaching or exploring the other works we have created and continue to offer mothers, parents, and the world. Follow us on Instagram at mothering_unedited. To find out more or connect further with any of us, you'll find Sarah at soul-birth.ca, Leanne at coachingwithleanne, that's LEANNE.org, and Carmen at carmenwist, CARMENWISTE.com. Until next time, may you find your brave to share your unedited authenticity and honor yourself through the mess and the magic of motherhood.